This podcast is brought to you in part by PNP Games, your online source for everything video games. Visit their website at pnpgames.com or at one of their 3 retail locations in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to the Touch of Gaming podcast. This is episode number 165. And as always, I'm your host, Lloyd Hannison. And joining me this week, also, as always, Jared Schultz. Jared, how you doing?
Yeah, I was going to give you a hard time if you joining me this week as if it was a surprise or something.
I'm too smart for you.
No one else joined you lately, Lloyd.
No, just you. Just you.
I am doing well, Lloyd. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm setting up a new machine that will become the master podcast rig, so I'm having a lot of fun with that. Just having a really good time. Having a really, really good time. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of crazy family stuff with like Easter and birthdays and all that stuff. So I'm kind of glad that I have a couple days where it's not so crazy, which is kind of the calm before the storm, because both my kids signed up for soccer this year. And it turns out that we have soccer every single night. Monday,
Hooray.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which may even impact some of my podcasts. We'll see when the actual time slot is. I totally forgot I didn't forget really. I totally underestimated, I should say, how crazy having multiple kids in extracurricular activities is going to be. So, that's being a parent. Sometimes those things come and bite you in the butt.
At this point, my son would only qualify to be the ball in soccer.
So you have a little while to worry about that, Jared.
Yeah. But it was his birthday. He turned 2 this week.
Happy birthday.
Yep, he was extremely excited for his bus cake.
I saw the picture on Facebook just now. You let me know that it was up there, and that is one excited kid. I don't think I've seen any other kids that excited for a bus. Yeah,
he was so excited for his bus cake. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. Kids, they grab onto the weirdest things sometimes, where it's just like, my kid's favorite thing is a bus. My kid's favorite thing is this one toy car, and if it ever goes missing, his world is shattered. There's a lot of really funny things like that with children.
Yeah, it's funny, but it was pretty awesome. It was a good birthday, and it's crazy to think he's 2, because I remember when I stopped coming to the show for a bit because he was born.
Yeah.
So.
It's weird how that works. They're born and then they get older. It's really bizarre.
It just seems like not that long ago, but at the same time, like forever ago. It's weird.
I was chatting with I guess a listener on Twitter, and they were listening since pretty much the first show of the PSP podcast, which I recorded in April of 2005. So I'm on my 9th year of podcasting.
Wow.
Doing this for 9 years, which is a little bit on the insane side. So, that's just the way it is sometimes. You do something that you love, and you keep doing it, and then before you realize, it's 9 years have passed. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So, cool.
Awesome. Well, let's get into the meat of the show. Jared, what have you been playing?
I've been playing some games. You'll notice by the list of games I've been playing that I've been playing a lot today and not a ton the rest of the week, because 3 of the 5 games I'm going to be talking about as being played only came out last night. So first of all, I've been playing, well, unless you're in Canada, but I don't know any Canadians. So first of all, I've been playing Dice Dungeon. So Dice Dungeon is an interesting little game in which you have heroes and you control a little hero guy, and you are going through a dungeon and you're rolling dice. So you start off and you have 2 dice, and if you get like doubles, then you double your damage. If you ever get 1, your attack is over and you miss your attack. So there's this really constant press your luck feature to it, because maybe you'll roll and you get like a 2 and a 3, and you'll be like, well, 5 damage. Well, I'll just re-roll the dice, because if you continue rolling the dice, it's cumulative. So I've had sometimes where I've gotten way up there, and it's so depressing when all of a sudden you roll a one and you're just destroyed. So you're when you roll the dice, it's not super cool. It's just a little like thing that's like changing numbers really fast, and you touch it. And if you roll an exact number on a monster, then you actually capture that monster, and then you can have monsters accompany you, a la Pokemon or something. And then you can level up those monsters as well, so that you're rolling for you, and then you're rolling for them, which is nice because then you have multiple attacks. And as you play more, you rescue people that then will unlock parts of your town and will allow you to do more things like buy weapons and buy and juggle your animals and do all sorts of things like that. So there's kind of this cool and forge stuff. And if it is a freemium game, so your guy will get hurt, and then you'll just have to leave the game alone for a while, and then you come back and he's all healed up, which isn't too bad. And it seems like you are able to play it for a little bit of time before it busts out on you. You can usually play a couple of dungeons, so it's kind of a nice quick pick up and play game, and I like it. And so then the next game I've been playing is a game called Horde. Is it Hordes or Horde of Heroes? And Horde of Heroes is interesting because it's like a match 3 game, but it has quite a bit in common with like Candy Crush Saga, because there's different types of quests. Sometimes you'll have fetch quests that all you have to do is drop the little like apples or something to the bottom of the screen, and if you drop them all the way to the bottom of the screen, then they are free. But other times you'll have to go defeat bad guys, and the way that you defeat bad guys is by making matches of 3 with your magic and your attack. One of the interesting thing here is it's like real time, in that a lot of times with these types of games, it's like I make a match and then they make a match, or I make a match and then they attack. This one's real time, and so while you're making a match, they have a little meter building up, and as soon as their meter hits full, they're going to attack you. So if you're taking a long time finding a match, you could get attacked multiple times potentially, which is interesting as a mechanic. It's sometimes a little frustrating, because I've had multiple times where like my son will get my attention, and all of a sudden I look back at the game and I'm almost dead because they've been able to attack a couple of times in the amount of time it took me to take my turn. But it's just kind of weird because it kind of rides that line on. It feels like there should be some turn-based to it, and it's not at all. I haven't played a ton of this one, so there'll probably be more coming. It's also a freemium game, but it's interesting. Wow. I've been playing a game called Wayward Souls, and that was kind of the headliner out this week. It's by Rocket Cat Games. They've put out a couple of big name games that have received a lot of press. I'm not coming up with. Didn't they come out with like Hook Champ or something originally?
Yep.
They're the hats people. So all the games that want you to collect hats, that's usually Rocket Cat Games.
Yeah, they did, most recently was Punch Quest, and then there was the Hook Worlds and Hook Champ and Super Quick Hook and
Mage Gauntlet, I think.
Yeah, I think that was them as well. So yeah, they've done a number of games, and they all have that same sort of 8-bit, like 16, between a 8 and 16-bit art style. Really kind of cool.
Yeah, and this is one similar. It has the same type of art style. It's a little bit of like a Diablo-esque but it actually has, unlike the game that we talked about last week and that I've still been playing, Dungeon Quest, it has like this interesting. It has like a storyline to it, and it's actually okay. And they've said that they are going to be bringing out big updates that are going to add lots of playtime to the game. And every time they are going to do this, they said that they are just going to raise the price $1. And they've basically said, don't look for sales on this game. That's not the way that we want to handle this one. And so right now it's $5, and when the next update it comes out, it'll go up to $6, and so on and so on. So it's an interesting monetization strategy. There's no in-game app purchases, not even for hats like there were in a lot of their other games. I hope it works out for him because I like people trying different monetization strategies. I think that there's room in the market for lots of different monetization strategies, and this one feels a little bit more, hardcore, uh, serious gamer that likes to play bigger games. And I haven't played a ton of it. I've probably played, half an hour, 45 minutes, but there's quite a bit there. You know, equipping some different weapons and like I said, it feels a little bit like a Diablo. So basically, you on the left side you have the one stick control that is aiming your direction, and then on the right side you don't have like a second stick. You just have whichever way you're facing. If you touch it on the right side, it'll attack. It's interesting, and then there's lots of these little power up things, like if you swipe up or swipe down, and you slowly will get these different magic spells that you'll then be able to utilize in that way. So, it's pretty complicated or complex. It seems pretty good. I'm still going to play it some more before I talk about it too much, because, like I said, it's kind of a big release, and it's pretty good and it's fun, and I would like to give it its due before I talk about it too much. So it might be worth checking out, or wait a week and hopefully, I'll be able to play it some more and talk about it next week. Then I've been playing a whole bunch more Hearthstone. This may end up going in here in a couple of weeks and just graduating into those games that you can just assume that I'm always playing. Because, there's 3 or 4 games that just constantly stay on my iPod and I'm always playing them, and Hearthstone is looking to take that over. For me, it's like the perfect game that I can play while, like, watching a TV show with my wife or doing something like that, and I can have Hearthstone going, and I'm slowly building up different cards, or collecting different cards and building up my different heroes so that I can get all the cards that way. And then every once in a while I make an arena run and see how well I can do. It's just a fun game to have. I Hearthstone, it just feels so right on the iPad, and it's one to really check out.
Cool.
And then finally, Dungeon Quest. It's the one we reviewed last week. It's kind of the Diablo-esque game that there's lots of loot. I still have not made it to as far as Lloyd. However, I'm still enjoying it. I beat another boss last night, and yeah, it's pretty good. I'm playing the mage character, and I'm just really enjoying it and playing it. And I still haven't purchased anything, so it just shows you how much you can get in that game without actually buying anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing. What about you, Lloyd? What have you been playing?
Cool. Well, I've been playing a fair bit on my iPad. I'm still going through my Lego Platinum thing on my consoles. Trying to get platinums on all the Lego games I own, which is most of them on the PS3. If you don't know what platinum trophies are, you can listen to one of the other shows that we do on the network. I've been talking about this for about a week now. That's when I started. But I've been playing some other things. The first one really isn't a game, but it was really interesting. There's a series of books called The Final Hours of, and they're not really books, they're kind of digital media experiences. They're done by Jeff Keighley, and he did one for like Portal and Tomb Raider, and the most recent one is The Final Hours of Titanfall. I think it's like $3 if I remember correctly, and it's basically just an app that is basically just an interactive article that talks all about what happened in the development of Titanfall. Titanfall is, of course, the great shooter that came out on the Xbox One and Xbox 360 by the ex-Call of Duty devs that were kicked out of the company and then sued and countersued, and there's just a whole bunch of crazy stuff that went around with it. So I've been looking through that, and I finished reading it. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't super long, but it was a really cool I don't know, discussion on the development of a game and the impact of a lawsuit on a company and stuff like that. And I put it here because it is kind of game related. In the game, there's this little side-scrolling auto runner that you can play where if you've seen Titanfall, your Titan, your pilot can, or your Titan's pilot, the character that you control, can do double jumps, and they can also run on walls. So the game is just like it's like Cannabolt that has the added feature of being able to run on walls, which is kind of neat. So I guess it's kind of game like when it has a mini game thrown into it. But these are really cool little I guess multimedia experiences, which are pretty interesting if you're into gaming and you want to know kind of the story behind all the games that you might know and love. You might want to check it out. I think there's 4 of them now in the App Store, so do check that out if you're into that type of stuff. And they're pretty affordable, and they give you a couple hours of reading and looking at screenshots and all that other fun stuff. So that was the final hours of Titanfall. Pretty cool, and I was definitely glad that I picked it up because it was good. So what else? I've been playing a game called Unpossible, which is Accelerado's latest game. It's iPad and iPhone, and basically you're running on a tube. You don't get to see your body, but you're just going on a tube, and you have to tilt left and right around the tube, and just random obstacles will be in your way, and you have to survive 30 seconds and then 60 seconds. When you survive 60 seconds on a level, it unlocks alternate levels that you can play. And I think there's 4 base levels, and then there's daily versions of those levels, and there's full leaderboard support and achievements built into this as well. It's really fun. It was I can't remember how much it was. I can't find it right now. Obviously, since I bought the game, I can't remember what it was, but I think it was like $4 if I remember correctly. I think it was $3.99, or no, sorry, it was $2. It was $1.99, and yeah, it's interesting. The game is absolutely gorgeous. Like the graphics are just insane, to the point where I played it on my iPhone for a little bit, and it felt like if I put my iPhone down on a desk, it would actually burn a hole through the desk to the floor. So it's really pushing the polygons. So if you're looking for a really beautiful game to check out, you might want to check out Impossible. I'm going to play it a little bit more and maybe do a review in a future episode of the show. Besides that, I've also been playing Simpsons, Family Guy, the staples, and also Dungeon Quest a fair bit as well. Really enjoying that game. Reviewed it last episode. I'm still playing the heck out of it, so do check that one out if you're looking for a fun dungeon crawler, Diablo-esque kind of game to check out. And Dungeon Quest is pretty good, and as Jared said, it's free, and you can pretty much play forever without putting any money in. But I do encourage you to reward the devs a little bit if you are enjoying the game, because it's pretty cool to get games like this and hopefully have them supported for a long time with future content updates.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool because after we did the review last week, you told me that the developer actually contacted you on Twitter.
Yeah, he contacted us on Twitter. I guess he saw the tweet that I went out and said that he watched the show and appreciated it. Took down some notes of things that we said you should improve to get a better score and such stuff like that. So the developers are really involved in it as well, which is really cool. Such a fun game. I really, really dig it. So do check it out if you haven't already.
Yeah, it's always surprising how many. I guess if you put your heart and soul into a game, then, you're trolling Twitter looking for people talking about your game. And it's just surprising how many have come across the podcast or,
Totally.
for whatever reasons, and just,
it's kind
listen to what we had to say. So
this game's been available for a long time on the Android platform, and then most recently came to iOS. So it has a pretty big user base already because people have been playing on the Android side. So it's kind of neat to see how a little app like this can kind of live in its own little world that you don't really find out about until it jumps across to the platform that you are maybe the more interested in. And then it's like, oh yeah, this game is awesome. And then people online have been talking about it for 6 months. They're like, yeah, we knew it was awesome 6 months ago. So yeah, it's one of those things. So do check it out, Dungeon Quest.
Perfect.
All right, man, let's get into the meat of the show. First up, notable releases. You talked about it already. Wayward Souls, Jared. $5. Is it worth the $5 so far for what you played? I've been thinking about picking it up when I have a little bit more time because it's right up my alley.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty impressive. It seems that there's a lot of content there, so I can't for sure say it yet because, like I said, I haven't played a ton of it. But so far, I'm happy with my purchase, even at $5.
Cool. Well, I forgot one thing that I'm playing, and that is this. It was the Game Boy's 25th anniversary or 25th birthday, so I got a Game Boy iPhone case, which actually has raised screens and the buttons are raised and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of cool, and it's kind of iPhone related as well. Although it's a game thing, you can't really play games on it. Although I've had, I don't know, a couple people, including my kids, come up to me and say, this would be cooler if you could play games on the Game Boy portion of it and then use your phone for phone stuff on the phone portion of it. It's like, yeah, that would be kind of cool, I guess.
You're like flipping it back and forth.
Yeah, it's kind of odd. But yeah, that's another game thing that I forgot to mention at the start of the show.
Yeah, some of those things don't hold up so well. Like,
yeah.
When you go back and play some of the old games, and you hear the like really like low, bad sounding like I don't know.
Come on, Tetris is classic. Tetris is awesome. I don't know what
it was great. It was great, and I played a lot of it. But man, you go back and you hear that old music, and you're just like, "Ooh, wow!
Yeah,
we've come a long way."
Totally have. Cool. All right. Well, let's jump past that. Let's get into the news. First off, an update to the iPhone came out this week. iOS 7.1.1. Sorry, not to iPhone, to iOS. It came out this week. iOS 7.1.1, available on all the devices that can run iOS 7, of course. And it's added a bunch of functionality, some new features, a lot of security updates. But one little secret thing, or not secret, but one little kind of I don't know, easy to miss, hard to find thing is now when you're browsing apps in the App Store with that update, if you're looking at a free game that has in-app purchases, it has a warning below the free button that says includes in-app purchases or contains in-app purchases. I guess this is a nice little way to kind of clue parents into it again. Apple sent out notices if you bought in-app items, or if your kids rather bought in-app items, you get a refund for all those things. I guess there's a class action lawsuit and some other stuff. So they're taking it serious, and they're trying to warn people the only way that they can, which is repeatedly beat them in the face with, people could buy stuff in here. Don't just give it to your friend and have them buy a bucket of Smurf berries, because you're not going to get that money back. But now it's a little bit more of a little warning. So nice little feature they added to iOS, Jared.
I think Smurf berries are going to go down in infamy.
I think they are, actually. That was the most egregious one. That's where kids were spending £200 playing it, and then their parents are freaking out, or £2,000, I think was one of the articles I read. And just the kid buying Smurf berries over and over, because when you didn't have enough, it's like, do you want to buy more Smurf berries? If you hit yes, it basically chose one, and then you just hit buy, and boom, there you are, spent some money, got your items, and you're cooking with Smurf berries.
Yeah, I think it was probably just because it came out it was targeted at kids. Mm-hmm. It came out when people weren't very wise to in-app purchases and everything else, and so it got a lot of attention. So
totally.
Anyway.
All right, cool. Let's move on. So yeah, this is an interesting article that came out. You just put this one in the show notes. There's an article on Yahoo Finance, originally in the Wall Street Journal, that Apple and Google are actually courting developers to get exclusivities for their platform. This is something you see in the console space and the handheld space forever. You'd get, like Titanfall is a perfect example. They were basically approached by Microsoft that said, hey, you're making this game, you need money, here's a big stack of money, you take our money, you only put your game on our platform. The developers, or I guess the publisher, agreed to it. Next thing you know, Titanfall's an exclusive on Xbox. That is happening. So things like this article included stories about Plants vs. Zombies 2. So basically Apple did some promotion, maybe didn't give them any money, but did a lot of promotion, basically stuck the game at the top of the App Store forever. And in exchange for doing that, EA gave Apple a 2-month window of exclusivity for this one particular game. It seems like there's a lot of these things happening, and a lot more kind of independent developers talking about it, wondering why some of these more prominent apps are getting more prominent featuring when maybe some of the more independent stuff should maybe be there. It kind of makes sense, I guess, when things like this, when articles like this come to light. So, Jared, do you think this is a bad thing, or is it just, I don't know, part of doing business?
I think it's really interesting, because I think it's just part of the evolution in the whole mobile game space coming into, being a big boy grown up industry. Yeah. That now that, right now, like they said, we're only seeing it as potentially, exclusive for periods of time. Generally, we haven't really seen very many that are. We haven't heard yet. They could be out there.
Right.
We haven't heard it yet of any deals that are permanent. Going to be exclusive for the entire game forever. To one platform or the other, and we also haven't heard of any money changing hands yet. Which, in Titanfall, that's what happened, was they got money actually to keep it. So it'll be interesting just to see how it's evolving. But I think that this is one of the steps that just shows that mobile gaming is coming into its own. The fact that they're willing to put features in the App Store just to try and get exclusivity, and they're trading those favors. It'll be interesting. I get a little concerned because it makes it so some of the small publishers and small developers that have, been able to do things on the App Store previously, it seems like, and just get noticed because the game was great. I think that might be starting to go away a little bit. Maybe they'll have to tough it out a little bit longer before they do get that feature, which is a little bit sad because it's kind of shows like I said, the mobile gaming scene is growing up, and it gets a little bit harder when it starts to become big business. And I think they quoted in here that there was like $16 billion spent on apps last year. So it's crazy.
That is a huge industry. And it's an industry that basically grew over the last like 4 or 5 years, which is, it's amazing that there's another thing that people can put that kind of money into. It's taking revenue away from all the other different markets out there, but wow, that's a huge number. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so it's interesting, and it's one of those things that just shows the evolution of the market and where we're at now. So
for sure. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on past that and let's get into a couple quick ones. The first is a game announcement. There's a great independent title that came out for PCs. It was part of a Humble Bundle way back in the day, and it was called Botanicula, or Botanicula would probably be the better way to say it. And it was basically you're playing in this little world of little creatures and spiders and stuff, and it was super beautiful, super independent. It was, as I said, part of a Humble Bundle, so many people might own a copy. Maybe if you've never even played it, if you bought some of the early Humble Bundles to get some of the bigger games, you might have gotten some of these ones. But Botanicula is coming out to iOS, coming on the iPad, and it'll be coming on May 1st. So really, really close. So probably talk about it when it's released. It is it's just a weird little game, but it is just super. I don't even know how to say it. The animation is just really amazing. So you get these little fluffy spider dudes that are basically chasing after, trying to eat the seeds and other things, and it's just a really weird independent title. No pricing has been announced. I would assume that it would be probably $5 or maybe $3.99. But that one's something to look forward to coming on May 1st. So hooray for indies porting their stuff over to the iOS. That's a really good thing. Have you played Botanicula or Botanicula? Botanicula. I'll say it another way.
Played it, yeah. No, it's one of those. I may have it in from, like you said, a Humble Bundle that was one of the other games in there. I'm not really sure.
It's sitting on your Steam somewhere, I'm sure.
Likely, but I think it's the last of a series of some sort, right? Wasn't there a couple other ones that kind of are in the same world, but by the same developer?
Possible. I don't know of those, but that is definitely a possibility for sure.
Yeah, I think it is. Oh, Machinarium.
Oh, really? It's from that developer. Oh, that's where the animation comes from then. Definitely.
Yes, it's from the group that did Machinarium.
Machinarium was a really great game as well.
So
cool. All right, awesome. Well, let's move on. I got a couple app updates we want to get into before we get into Jared's review for this week. The first one is Injustice, Gods Among Us, had an iOS app. So, excuse me, Injustice is a console fighting game, so 2D fighting game. it had or sorry, 3D fighting game rather. It had a iOS version that came out that allowed you to do kind of like Infinity Blade sort of battles, and all the experience that you gained on the mobile version, you could then link with your console version. And that console version would then give you other unlocks, other costumes, and things like that. It's been out for a long time. Version 2.0 is going to be coming out, or sorry, rather, it came out. And it includes a whole bunch of features. So if you've owned this before and deleted it off your iPad, just because of the size that it took, you might want to install it again if you're still into this franchise. It adds online multiplayer. It adds match replays, new characters, and a heck of a lot more. The one thing to note, the online multiplayer isn't like live. You're battling across the internet with someone else. It's kind of a when you're online and you go into an online battle, you're on the offense. When you're not signed in, you're on defense. There's an auto matching system that will match it up. And then it's just kind of like the AI takes over, and the matches are kind of figured out by the computer. So it's kind of a neat little feature, not a full-fledged online multiplayer sort of thing, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it's kind of neat. This one adds other things like gear cards, so you can win gear by winning battles and then level up your characters with those gears. So you might want to give them a kryptonite sword or a different type of weapon. So it's getting even more Infinity Bladey with that type of stuff. But really kind of cool. I'm sort of interested in maybe reinstalling it. I played a fair bit of it when it first came out. Never ended up picking up the console version, so I thought it was kind of a big waste. So I just didn't go any more into it. But now this might be worth picking up to check out. And the actual console versions are actually on sale on PlayStation Network right now for super cheap. So if I like it, maybe I'll end up picking up like the PS3 version or maybe even the PS4 version, and doing some of the app connection stuff and transferring some stuff back and forth. But yeah, interesting little update for a game that's been out forever, and it's free. So there's free updates to free games. Just, I don't know, kind of just make me scratch my head. Why would you spend all the time and money to do this, other than maybe they want to come up with the version 2 or something like that. That might be it. And also next up is Sega Sonic and All Stars Racing came out. We talked about it when it first came out. It was something like $4, and then was riddled with DLC where you'd have to buy the game in bits and chunks. So instead of buying the full game for $25 or $30, you're basically buying little bits like these sets of levels, this upgrade. It had sleep timers, so if you played a character too much, you'd have to wait a little bit. You buy the DLC and that goes away, etc., etc. But it was a premium game, so there was a little bit more of a, well, why are you doing that, devs? That's kind of a douchey thing to do. Well, that's no longer the case. The game's been dropped to free, so it's free to anybody to go pick it up right now. And they're adding a whole pile of content. So there's going to be a new World Tour chapter put in. There's a new Boss Grand Prix that's going to be thrown in. And basically, sorry, what's that?
Wreck-It Ralph and Metal Sonic will also be unlockable characters.
Yeah, there are going to be other characters you can unlock coming later this month as well. And what Sega's really hoping to do with this is the fact that it's free means there's going to be more players. So that means that the likelihood of finding a multiplayer partner for you, because you don't have to go to your friends and sit there and say, okay, we want to play this multiplayer, and then everybody has to go buy this game. They can now just download it for free, and then you can get in and play that as well. So yeah, pretty cool. It's good to see companies like this kind of playing with the pricing structure and going from there. But I might actually even want to jump into it to see how much stuff has changed.
Yeah, I hope for their sake that it's not too late, that people will still go back and try this game, because it seems like there's oftentimes a pretty narrow window that you've got to catch people's attention in.
Sure.
And when the game comes out,
yeah,
there aren't very many games that are out 6 months and then they take off.
Totally. It's amazing how well this game is seen outside of the regular gaming sort of core gamer circles, like the Mario Kart. Everybody loves Mario Kart, and they kind of look at this as kind of like the lesser version, but it is such a popular franchise, even so much that this franchise got ripped off, and there's a Hello Kitty version that is very similar to this. So you have multiple cart types, or transforming types to your carts, and it's all Hello Kitty characters. My daughter was obsessed with that. We were at a game store the other day, and she's like, "Oh, I want this!" And it's like only $20 on Wii U or something. So we'll probably end up getting it eventually. But yeah, this game is loved. When I would think of, if I think of a kart racer, it's always Mario Kart is the one that I would think of. Kind of bizarre, but it's free now, so that's good.
Hooray!
All right, well, that's gonna about do it for news. Jared, why don't you give us your review of the week?
All right, so I'm going to go back a couple of months for a game that came out early this year, but it was still very, very good. And that is a game called Calculords. Not really quite sure how to describe this game. I've tried before, and I feel like I can never quite do it justice. It's almost one of those games that I remember when I was little, there was this game called Math Blaster, and we used to go to the computer lab and play it. And like you had to like solve math equations to get your spaceship to move the way you wanted and stuff like that. Kind of that edutainment or whatever they call it, where it's like partially education and partially entertainment. Anyway, so this game kind of reminds me of that, and here's why. Because basically, there's basically a whole bunch of lanes, and you are going up against different people as you fight to free the galaxy. What you do is on the left side you'll draw a set of cards, and that number of cards will go up to 6, and you'll you'll just randomly pull those cards out of your hand. So the cards that you slowly generate or you unlock and can add, they have different numbers associated with them. And the numbers that are difficult to make math equations to get to and are higher are generally stronger characters. For example, if you have like just a little, one that's like a 2, he's going to be really weak. But if you have like a 62, where that's kind of a weird number because you have to get to like 31 and then double it and all that, it's a lot stronger. So when you're setting your people there together, you have to just you have to kind of keep that in mind, that you're going to want a mix of some cards that are easy to calculate and some cards that are difficult to calculate. And then each time you'll draw little number tiles, and you will then have to use those number tiles on the right, and then the basic math operations. However, you don't have divide, so it's addition, subtraction, and multiplication. And like you'll touch 1, and then you'll hit the multiply button. Like you touch the 2, multiply it by the 3, and you get a 6. And then you can spawn a unit that has the number 6 next to it. And it gets a lot more complex because if you use every single tile that you have on the right, then you get another set of tiles. And often with 2 sets of tiles, you can then clear out all the units that you drew that turn. If you don't summon a particular unit, then they stick around for your next turn. But you don't really want them to stick around because you just want to fill the lanes as much as you can. So it's kind of like a puzzly game because you're trying to always figure out how I can use more of the units. But at the same time, you're also wanting to there's a whole like battle going on up top. And so some of the units will have all sorts of different special powers. Like some can't be hit by flying attacks, or some of them can't, we'll spawn 2 of them. And then there's different types of units. You'll have like pusher units that can push rows of guys back. And then you'll have defender units that are more like tanks that just won't die. And then you'll have like attacker units that will throw out, big attacks. So, you're going to have to mix up your units on each lane. And then you also have basically spells or commands that, if you get a certain number, then maybe you'll get +1 to attack to all your units in a certain lane. And then the goal of the game is just to damage the other commander and make him lose all of his life. So it's like I said, that edutainment. I don't know if I don't really like that word, but it's like partially it's education, but it's also fun. And it's a really weird game. The art style is kind of like 16-bit ish. Whenever you beat a level, then you unlock more cards. It is free. However, you get like 2 cards for every one that you for everyone you win. However, if you go and buy like this one pack, then you'll get 3 cards every time. So you basically increase your winnings pretty rapidly. Kind of like a coin booster, coin doubler that happens in some things. But or you can also just go out and buy individual packages of cards, and they're usually like $2 each, so they're relatively reasonable. And once you buy them once, you're not going to want to buy them again. So even if you were to go out and buy all of them, it's not like a game that you could go out and spend $50 on, because I don't even think there's $50 worth of in-app purchases in it. So it's kind of cool that I don't feel like they're trying to milk money out of it and get your dollars. You can play a decent amount of content just for free. And it sounds strange, but it's very, very addictive. You sit there and you're just like, man, I really can't, or, oh, I just got this new card, and you get excited about summoning it and trying to figure out, how to get there. And, and a little pro tip that I didn't realize until I had been playing the game for a few weeks. So like if I hit 2 times 8 and I need to get a 6, so like I have to get 48. So I do 2 times 4 and get 8. And I can then click on another one. I thought I had to do them all in a row. And it turns out that you can like get the 8 and then leave it and then go mess with the other numbers, come back and then pull the 8 back in, to multiply it by the 6 to get the 48. It's one of those little subtle things that when I discovered it, all of a sudden, I was so much better at the game. So it's good. I really like it. I think that you should check it out. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I'm not sure what they could have done to get that 5th star. Maybe it just wasn't even possible with this game idea. I didn't find myself like playing it a ton, but it's one of those games that sometimes you get into it and you just keep playing. If you don't like math, then this is a bad game for you. But maybe it's one of those games that's worthwhile giving to your 3rd grader, and maybe they'll get better at their multiplication and mathiness from this. So that game is Calculords. It's kind of tough to spell, but it's very interesting. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5.
Awesome. Well, thanks for reviewing that one. I've actually heard a couple people talk about this, so it's kind of interesting that you played it and enjoyed it.
It's a fun game. It's just not what you would expect.
Nice. It doesn't sound like something when someone comes with the game, comes up with an idea for a game rather. That's not something that you would think would be high up there on the list of game ideas, but it sounds like it works. So that's good to see.
Yeah, it's fun to do. Just imagine it as, what if somebody tried to make Math Blaster on the iOS, because that's kind of what it feels like.
Nice, cool. All right, cool. Let's end the show for today. Everybody, we love that you subscribe and join in with the live shows. Thanks everybody that came and checked out the live show. We'd love that if you subscribe, you'd leave us some feedback either on iTunes or on the forum somewhere. Just let us know what you think of the show and what you'd like to see out of this podcast. Always love hearing from the listeners. You can do that directly at vgpodcast.com or email us at vgpodcast@gmail.com, which is our email address. If you want, you can even call our voicemail line and leave a voicemail that we can potentially play in a future episode of the podcast. But yeah, that's going to about do it for this episode. Jared, thanks for joining me.
Always my pleasure, Lloyd.
I was like, did he hang up on me or something? I was kind of waiting there for a second. I'm impatient. What can I say? All right. Thanks for joining me. And that's going to about do it for this episode of the ToG, the Touch of Gaming. We'll talk to you guys in about a week's time. Take it easy, everybody.
Bye.